Tatiana. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present to everyone today. So today we're going to talk. I'm not going to talk anything about music. How to score a rockin' LinkedIn profile. I am a amateur guitar player, so I don't want to get into that too much and scare everybody away. So today what we'll do, kind of the agenda. I'll go through a very quick intro of my background. Tatiana did a great job. And then, what if we didn't have a LinkedIn profile at all? You'll be surprised how many people don't have a LinkedIn profile. And it depends a lot on somebody's profession. I've noticed, just especially as a recruiter. And what was the world like before LinkedIn, pre-2004? And then why should you care about your LinkedIn profile? Why should it be top notch? I'll go over some stats to kind of answer the reason why. And then, of course, we'll get right into the 8 tips for scoring a rockin' LinkedIn profile and some closing thoughts. So that's Tatiana mentioned, I'm an owner of AMC Business Solutions, been around for about 15 years. Also, I know I have multi-hats, managing recruiter at a Boston-based executive search firm, and then been networking and founded Mass Professional Networking. And I've been on LinkedIn since about 2006. I know it started in 2004, so I was about 2 years into it. And on the side, of course, I had a 30-year career in IT, and I'm from Northeastern University. Any Huskies out there? So what if you not had a LinkedIn profile at all? The little picture on the left side, is anyone out there relate to that, your desk looking like that? Maybe pre-2004 or even now. Back in those days, everything was manual. You had a rotary phone, which is Skype. Foursquare. Does anyone use Foursquare anymore? That was like a location-based. LinkedIn was your telephone. Pre-LinkedIn, it was a lot of cold calling for sales personnel, and then Pinterest and YouTube. And then don't do it. Your LinkedIn if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it's almost like having a blank business card. Now, I don't know if anyone out there I don't know if you remember Seinfeld. Yeah, Newman, who was the post office man, the post office worker, and he had a business card that said Newman, U.S. Postal Service, and no other information. So you can imagine if you got his business card, you couldn't do anything with it. And that's the whole idea with a LinkedIn profile. You want to have a profile that's fully populated and all about you. So why should you care? Your clients, especially if you have a business or if you're in sales, are checking you out. They're checking out your profile. As soon as they get their name, the first place they're going to look is at your LinkedIn profile, as well as your coworkers. Usual rule of thumb with LinkedIn is you usually connect to some of your coworkers, whether present or past, in order to build up your network. So they're always looking to see how you're doing, what are you doing. And then, if you're in the market for a new opportunity, employers are looking at your profile. Now, as a recruiter, my first introduction to you is really your LinkedIn profile. I don't have your resume. So if your profile is incomplete, it doesn't have everything there, that's my first impression of you as a recruiter. So you always think of from that perspective. That's your brand. And we'll be talking about the brand a lot lately. And then potential job and business leads. LinkedIn is probably one of the top 2 or 3 platforms today for looking for a new job. A lot of people out there think it's a job board, but it's a lot more to it than that. And the great thing about LinkedIn and using LinkedIn as a job board is you have the network to back you up. So let's say you have a position at a company that you're interested in. You could see who works at that company. Maybe you have a first level or a second level connection that you could get an introduction to. And really, that's a fast track instead of doing the traditional application of a job, sending a resume and a cover letter and hoping for the best. And then last but not least, building relationships. LinkedIn is a great place to connect to everyone. But as you know, you want to be able to get to know that person. Is there a common thing between you and that person? Did you go to the same school, work at the same company, from the same city? And talk about those personal connections before you start talking business. But most of all, LinkedIn is a personal brand. It's all about you. It's not necessarily your company unless you own your company. You should always configure your LinkedIn profile to promote you. So I'll go over some stats here, just generally. LinkedIn is kind of closing in on 1 billion users, which is unbelievable. I know it's not up there with Facebook or YouTube or even TikTok, but it's got pretty close to 1 billion users. Everyone's active on LinkedIn. 45% of people use LinkedIn every day. Now that number has even gone up. Um, the demographics on LinkedIn is different from most platforms. You have 90 million senior level executives, influencers out there, decision makers. They're there. They're on LinkedIn. They're there to meet you. And then, mostly every Fortune 500 company has a company page on LinkedIn. And then a lot of the traffic is mostly B2B. There is some B2C, depends on what your business is, but primarily it's a B2B site. And then, of course, marketers, 97% of B2B marketers use LinkedIn as a content distribution channel. They either share their blogs, any patents that they've done, or anything that promotes themselves. And it's only going to get bigger. Now, trivia out there, you can put this in the chat. LinkedIn was bought by Microsoft. Does anyone remember what year that was? Okay. All right, now we get into the meat of the presentation after some statistics and the why. 8 tips to score a rockin' LinkedIn profile. Let's have some fun here. All right, of course, your picture. Picture is worth, I would say, 1 million words, not necessarily 1,000 words. The good ones are on the left, the bad ones are on the right. And this being on LinkedIn and for many years, I've seen it all, and especially as a recruiter. Now, one of the first things I do look at is what's their the profile picture look like? What's a good photo? What's a bad photo? Basically having no profile picture is like putting a bag over your face, honestly. Because you remember, LinkedIn is a one-to-one networking tool. You get to know the person on the other side. You want to see what they look like first. Don't look like you're going to take a nap or have your sunglasses on or have a beer in your hand, even worse. That's the worst thing to do. You want to have a perception of you and from it to your brand. Tip number 2, the headline. So that is right below your picture. Now, what I suggest is you don't use your job title as your headline, because remember, you want to describe you. What do you bring to the table? What accomplishments you've made? What makes you different? This is your attention getter. It's like, remember newspapers back in the day? How to get attention? How do they get attention to you? What were you a product manager? Are you into marketing? Have you invented something? Are you a connector? I love Avid Connector for all you networkers out there. Are you into Agile? Are you a developer? What makes you different? And put that in your headline. And you can have, I like to put 3 to 5 different terms in your headline to describe you. Then right below your picture and headline, you have a summary. It's kind of like the summary you would see in a resume, but this is different. You really want to tell your story. Very quickly, I had, for 30 years, I was in technology management, and then I pivoted in 2022 into technical recruiting, as a talent scout, we'll call it, right? So, in my summary, I basically go into, how I pivoted into my new career, and then, about my networking group. You want to tell your story and not necessarily your company's story, unless it's your company. It's a little bit of like your elevator pitch, right? You want to get people's attention about you. So you want your summary to be that, similar to your elevator pitch, but not too salesy. Remember, you want to tell a story. And what results you delivered, and what's your call to action? How do people get in touch with you? Put it in your summary, because remember, that's the top half of your profile. And you want to make sure people see where they can get a hold of you right away. That's important to have your contact information. So your LinkedIn profile is a story of you. All right, so going into experience, this is the part where you list all your companies and what you've done. Focus on what you're taking forward. Now, as a recruiter, when I recruit candidates and talk and interview candidates, I always ask the question, all right, you're a content writer for XYZ company. What if I were to meet 5 or 6 content writers in a room? What makes you different? What's the 2 or 3 things that makes you different? What do you take forward? That's what should go in your experience section on your LinkedIn profile. What tasks you do, of course, but if, I don't know many plumbers are on LinkedIn, but you're a plumber, but what makes you different? What have you done differently? What's the impact that you've had? And how do you stand apart for others? So this is a really important place to sell yourself. When you're out there, especially if you're on the job market, or even if you're just starting your own business. I always think website developers, there's millions of them, right? What makes you different? Are you fast? Do you use the latest technology? That's what you want to put in your experience section. Okay, then tip number 5, you want to get specific on your profile. And I already talked about standing out. You want to, I always say, take it a step downward on, like, you think about a job description. I'm responsible for website content, but what content? What type of company? If you wrote a leadership blog, put that there. That's an accomplishment. You did that at a company. If you launched a product, if you launched a product that's never been launched before, or that's changed the world. A lot of people out there have done that, and they'll be surprised, right? Big example, I'm talking to one of our clients, is a client that does data privacy for ChatGPT and machine learning. That's a great, if you were the starter, the founder of a company like that, that's exactly something you want to put in your profile. And then, if you're in the world of finance, or even if you're in a management position, what have you done to reduce operational expenses? So again, let's go back, tip 4 and 5 are very similar, where, you want to get down to specifics and make what makes you different and use facts. Now, of course, if you're in leadership roles, you want to, again, what distinguishes you from other leaders? What have you done differently? You've hired and managed 14 project managers. You hired and laid off. You've gone through a layoff. You could even put that there, because especially with the economy today, companies are hiring and laying off and hiring. That you've gone through that. Definitely highlight that in your LinkedIn profile. You presented a roadmap to a board of directors. That's a big skill to have. If you've ever done anything where you've presented to executives, that's a big thing that you want to put to highlight your leadership. I love the chaos to control management. How many people out there, they've started a new role at a company, you're thinking, wow, this is chaos, right? But then you are the one that took the leadership, the incentive to, move chaos to control and put in operational processes that kind of took the company forward. Again, right? You faced adversity. Talk about adversity. We went through just recently, we went through a pandemic. I bet you a lot of folks here, myself included, have gone through a lot of adversity. Highlight that, highlight your leadership through that adversity. Like your company went through a lot of layoffs, but you kept the ship going, right? The ship kept going and didn't sink. You always want to do that. Is tip number 6. And then second to last but not least, tip number 7, flaunt yourself, right? So put your certifications out there, all of them. I'm not kidding. If you've been certified in anything, put it out there in your LinkedIn profile. If you've published any articles, you've written a book, you have a patent, this is the place to put I think of it like you're consolidating everything about you onto one screen. That's your LinkedIn profile. Definitely you want to put a lot of that stuff out there, because you'll be very surprised. Again, I'm not to use this as an example again, when I'm talking to candidates and I've seen what they've done, if they've had a patent, if you're an inventor or something, that right there tells me that you're very entrepreneurial, and you kind of utilize it. You took your next step with your skill sets to invent something. Certifications are very important, especially in technology, as everyone knows, or if you're in change management, ITIL, as well as if you're in the healthcare profession. So definitely put that there. And then, personalize yourself. What do you do outside of your professional life? Do you play music? Do you do not, you're involved with a nonprofit? You want to flaunt yourself there, that you're involved in certain nonprofits that you're passionate about. All right, tip number 8, and this is, bringing network after work here, and a lot of networking organizations out there. You want to join groups. With LinkedIn today, there used to be a limit. You only could join 50 groups, but now I think it's pretty much unlimited, especially if you have a premium account. But you want to join groups where are your customers? Think about where your customers are. Where do people you want to network with and learn from? Join those groups. Join different networking groups, network after work, or your local chamber. You know, when you connect to people on LinkedIn, your colleagues that you've worked with, your clients, people that you worked at, you met at a networking event, you want to do that. Just to give you a little, what I like to do though, if it's somebody I don't know, I always look to see who are they connected to. If they're a second level connection with you on LinkedIn, I would see like who are they connected to, because I'm going to be honest with you, be very careful out there. And I'll just give you a little side tips here. If you see somebody that's connected to you with like 10 connections, do your research on them without a doubt to make sure before you connect them. And then the next step is following people, influencers, and companies. So if you are, you're on the market for a new role and you start applying to companies or you connect to companies, follow them on LinkedIn, because another tip, and this is another presentation I do about networking on LinkedIn, is, when you follow a company, you want to engage with that company. Let them know about you, like their post, leave a comment, share it with your network, tag people that would be interested in a post that company, posts on the newsfeed on LinkedIn. Because that way, what you're doing now is you have an awesome rocking profile, but now you're starting to use LinkedIn, the strength of LinkedIn, which is engagement with others on the platform, and they're getting to know you. It's really cool. If you ever have an opportunity, some networking groups have an event called LinkedIn Posting Party, where there's 100 people that join this event, and they post, everyone posts something, and then they like, comment, and share everyone's posts. What that does is it increases engagement, and also visibility, engagement, and the visibility of you yourself. Great. Now you have that great profile. Now you're starting to engage with people, starting to see you. All right, we're coming in for a landing. So closing thoughts. So, anyone in the Boston area in particular, like Tatiana mentioned, I run Mass Professional Networking. We do monthly events. I'm hoping Network After Work gets into the Boston area too. That'll be awesome. And, by all means, connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm Jeffrey DeSocio. And we'll definitely want to, I don't know if you're getting a copy of these slides or not, but if you want a copy of slides, I'll be more than happy to send them to you. And I think I finished really quick, Tatiana. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. If you have any questions, now's the time to put them in the Q&A section. Just really quick, Sue wants to know if you can go back to tip 7 again.
Tip 7, sure. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. Yes. Does anyone want me to go? And that's a great point, Sue. Any slides, if you want to take a screenshot of them, let me know. I can always go back to them and take a picture. I see the chat. Slide 1, it looks like a lot of So are you all set with slide tip 7, Sue? Okay. Okay, let me just escape out of this. I'm gonna go to slide tip number 1 again, which I think is probably one of the more important ones, right? This is the picture, right? So picture's 1,000 words. So, if there's anyone, if you ever go to an event and, there is somebody doing headshots, take advantage of that, because a lot of times they're doing it for free as part of the event. Um, it's always good to have a picture that's probably less than 3 years old, generally. Okay, Michael, looks like Michael raised his hand. Tatiana, I don't know if I can see what Michael has. Let me see if it's in the chat.
Let's see. Are we all set with the slides? Did you do 1 to 3? Christian
Yeah,
said
let
I
me
missed
just,
tip 1 to 3.
oops, I don't know what's going on here. It's like frozen on me. So this is tip 2. Just this is your headline that goes right below your picture. So it's a couple keywords. Those are keywords that allow you to be more searchable when you're going on LinkedIn. So it can be what you do, what your profession is, but also what sets you apart. Okay, let's make sure we're all set with tip 3. And I'll go through the chat in a second. Let me just show tip 3 here for everybody. So this is your summary. This is the paragraph that's right below your picture and headline. Now, if you're in technology, I always like this section to list some of your competencies also, some of the skill sets that you have.
I
And
mean,
Tatiana, what I could
yeah,
do is I could send you a PDF, Tatiana, or my slides.
yeah, if
you
you're
wanna.
okay, I can add it
Yeah,
to your video replay. As long as I have your permission, I'll add it for everyone.
yeah, I'll send that to you right up as soon as I'm done here.
Perfect.
I
And then
just
we
want
do
to
have
see.
questions coming through. So when you're ready, I can jump in at the top where it starts.
Okay. Are you looking at the chat by any chance, or are you
I'm
looking at
in
the
both the
question?
chat and the Q&A.
Okay, yeah, why don't you list them off so that way I'm not searching.
All right, so we'll start at the chat. This one came in from Jennifer. With regard to education, is there any way to have 2 institutions highlighted to the right of your profile picture in lieu of 1 institution and 1 current job title?
You only can have your latest and greatest institution there. Wherever you went to last is usually the institution that's highlighted on the right side of the profile. So just like your job, your latest opportunity or where you are is on the right side of the profile. So no, you can't have 2, only 1.
Perfect. All right, so this one's from Christine. How much time should you commit to LinkedIn on a daily or weekly basis to be effective in developing strong connections and or results to grow your own brand business, or excuse me, own brand awareness?
I would say 30 minutes because everyone has a job to do. We all have our professions, but I would dedicate, think of it like networking. You should dedicate yourself to go to an event once in a while, usually maybe a couple a month if you're not in the networking group. LinkedIn, I would say 30 minutes of your day. Have your coffee, check LinkedIn, check the news feed, connect. And I always have a rule of thumb, connect to 3 to 5 people a week. Unless you're really in sales or you're starting your own business, you may want to do that a day. But 30 minutes should be it. You don't want to, you have your day job.
I scroll LinkedIn while I'm on the treadmill.
Yes,
It's like the time that I'm able to like just slow down and have nothing, and I'm on the treadmill and I'm just like scrolling it.
So everyone knows, LinkedIn has a great application, right? So that's awesome. I don't want to say guilty. Boston traffic is crazy. So sometimes I'm sitting in traffic, I'll scroll LinkedIn.
There you go.
And don't take that tip from me. That's not tip 9.
All right, awesome. So moving on to Robin wants to know, so what are groups? are they similar to Facebook groups?
They are. I would say LinkedIn, not to say Facebook doesn't have professional groups, but LinkedIn groups are usually they're a little bit more professional. They could be either a chamber of commerce or another networking group. It could be a group about it could be a passion or a business domain. Sometimes it's a because I'm a techie, right? Software development group or React JS, JavaScript development group, or marketing content writers. So it's always a place to think of a group as like to learn, where Facebook could be a little more B2C, personal. LinkedIn's a little bit more professional.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going back to the LinkedIn photo. Do you recommend wearing a suit for the LinkedIn picture, or can it be casual?
I would say a minimum for gentlemen, collared shirt. Collared shirt would be, unless, and this is the only time I would say you don't wear a suit jacket or a collared shirt. If you're a musician, maybe I'm not saying you don't care about, look, having a suit on, maybe, dress like a musician with a guitar in your hand. But, I think it's a good advocate to, have a nice shirt, have a shirt or a suit on.
Perfect. Let's see. Okay. If I am on LinkedIn and have the badge set for open to work, then is there a flag that I can set so that my current employer doesn't see that I'm actively looking for a job?
Yes. It's actually, if you go to open work, should be a box there that shows don't show your latest employer.
Let's see. So I think we answered, last question from Charlie. What are good ways to become a thought leader?
Well, if you, I'm gonna say a thought leader is, I'm gonna be honest with you, everyone here on this call is a thought leader in some respects, right? We all have professions. We all study our profession, and we all have thoughts. Let's say you read a great article. Express your thoughts on that article that you've read. It's interesting there. A lot of people think thought leaders are pie in the sky, people that just stand around thinking ideas, but we're all thought leaders. So a little homework, take something that you've read, put your thoughts on it, link to that article and your thoughts on that article, and share it with your network. Hopefully that helps.
Let's see. Okay, Christian wants to know, for looking for work, is it worth it to pay for the premium versions of LinkedIn?
If you are looking for work, I'm gonna be honest with you, no, because I've premium is really good for, there's two things, right? If you're in sales or you're in any type of role where you have to reach out to different networks, it's good. You could do everything you need to do with a free membership. Now, if you're looking for work, you're open to work, you're about to apply for a job at a company, the first thing, like I mentioned earlier, is look at the network, scan through the people that work at that company and see if you have any first level or second level connections there. If it's a second level, see who knows that person and ask your first level for an introduction. So that might be an example of something you can definitely do with a free account. Like, you don't necessarily need to pay for the premium for that. And LinkedIn's not hating for me to tell you that, but very quickly, I have a premium membership because I'm a recruiter, by day. All I see who sees my profile. There's things that, features on LinkedIn that you may not have as a free account. Like a free account, you don't see, I think it's like 7 to 14 days back who's seen your profile. With a free account, it may be just the last 5 people. So it's really access to information versus capabilities.
Yeah, I don't pay for premium either.
Yeah, I don't think you really need it. I mean,
But I
honestly,
will
it's
say, I do think the job search on LinkedIn is a little strange. Just because I've heard other people talking about it when they're searching for jobs, and it's like, oh, the easy apply is the strangest thing. 'Cause then you look and you're like, oh, 676,000 other people applied for this job. And so it's just like that easy apply thing to me is
making
like,
it worse.
I know we posted a job maybe like last month, and there was like 500 applications. Like, there's no way you're gonna just like sit here and go through 500 people.
I do that a lot, but little tip to everyone out there with that is if you see a job at a company, LinkedIn, on LinkedIn jobs with a company, go to the company's website and make sure it's there.
Mhm.
Links listed on their company website, because not everybody uses LinkedIn jobs. I mean, it actually costs a lot of money to post a job if you use Recruiter. But that's one thing you want to use LinkedIn for its network. Of course, there's jobs out there. You can see what's out there. Apply for the job through your network. Like, get that in through somebody that at that company, or somebody that can introduce you to that person, like the hiring manager of that company. Kind of go through that channel versus the easy apply, because you don't want to be a list of 500 like Tatiana mentions, right?
It's a
500 people.
it's a lot to go through for, an employer.
Yeah, and they're not going to go through them all.
Right.
Nothing like, hey, Tatiana, I know Sue. I want to introduce you to Sue. Sue is a great project manager. Imagine if I call you versus just applying for a job with 500 other people. So
I know. Yeah, I do think having that network connections, that's how I got my job, is the connection through network after work, and that's how I kind of ended up here, and here we are 9 years later. So let's see, one more question came in from Jennifer. She just wants to know, what are the top features or benefits to having the premium account if you're looking to network and gain clients?
So now notice the last word, gaining clients. So, if you're in sales, you're going to get a lot more information about your potential clients that you probably will not get as a free member. And also another thing is, who, again, going back to who's viewed your profile, you see a lot more detail of who's actually viewed your profile. So that way you can actually go back and connect with those people. If you go to their profile and say, oh, wow, this is a potential client, I'm going to introduce myself to that client, that person. That's a great feature with premium that you don't necessarily have. And then last but not least is the search capabilities. If you're looking for a particular demographic, when you're doing an advanced search, you have more fields to work with, right? Than you would if you had a free account. So that's one of the big things with the premium account that you get that free doesn't. Right? Now, going back to when we were talking about job search, you don't really need all that, but as a salesperson, you definitely do. Yes, it does. Oh, Sales Navigator is actually a separate option from premium, but premium actually has more capabilities in Sales Navigator.
Perfect. And then last question. What are your thoughts of LinkedIn Learning service? Is it worth it?
Any learning is worth it. But the the certifications you get on LinkedIn, it's the jury's still out. So like if you were to get like a HubSpot, if you're marketing, like a HubSpot certification versus a LinkedIn certification on LinkedIn, probably the HubSpot one has a little more weight to it if it's an approved program. But I think LinkedIn, LinkedIn Learning is still in its infancy. It's still, eventually it's probably gonna be the place to learn. And I always say, if you did take a class, post that you did take that class on your profile.
Perfect. Lots of information. Thank you everyone for all the questions that came in on LinkedIn. That was fantastic. I always learn something new on these LinkedIn presentations.